Cô bữa vừa cô gặp cái chị kia là vì cục bụng nó sưng nguyên con mắt lên luôn. Bây giờ nó đang sưng, nó đang cứng này, thấy không? Cô không có hù con đâu. Bé đi Đà Lạt về qua bắn á. Có ai chưa? Chị Thông. Dạ, chào hai mẹ con nha. Hẹn 5 ngày nữa nha. Đó, nghe cái bụp không? Mụn nó lên đó con ạ. Con đi da liễu uống thuốc hả?
Dạ. Uống thuốc với lại thoa à?
Uống thuốc với thoa thuốc. Con đâu có bôi, con đâu có lấy mụn đâu đúng không?
Dạ đúng rồi, con chỉ lấy đúng một phần đó thôi. Tại vì bác sĩ nói là khi bác sĩ đưa thuốc sức là nó tự trồi lên luôn. Không
Tự trồi á?
Dạ.
Rồi có thấy nó trồi lên không?
Nhưng mà không, con đi lâu lắm rồi cho nên là con thấy không hiệu quả nên con không có đi nữa.
Mụn này mà trồi mới lạ. Trồi mà trồi đèn trời. Không trồi lên được đâu con ạ. Mụn con nó sâu dữ lắm.
Roosevelt, Perkins was the driving force behind reforms that shaped modern America. She pushed for the 40-hour work week, the minimum wage, laws against child labor, and unemployment insurance. Most importantly, she helped design Social Security, which to this day protects millions of Americans in times of need. Frances Perkins believed that government had a duty to protect its most vulnerable citizens. Her tireless work redefined what it meant to have a fair shot at the American dream.
1. Deborah Sampson, the woman who became a soldier. In the late 1700s, during the Revolutionary War, women were not allowed to fight on the battlefield. But Deborah Sampson, a young woman from Massachusetts, refused to accept that limit. Disguising herself as a man, she took the name Robert Shirtliff and enlisted in the Continental Army. For nearly 2 years, she fought bravely in dangerous battles, carrying a musket and marching alongside her fellow soldiers. She dug trenches, endured freezing winters, and even suffered wounds, all while keeping her true identity hidden. When she was injured in battle, Deborah removed musket balls from her own leg to avoid being discovered by doctors. Her determination to serve was stronger than her fear of exposure. Eventually, her secret was revealed, but instead of disgrace, she was honorably discharged. Years later, Congress granted her a pension for her military service, the first American woman ever to receive one. Deborah Sampson's story reminds us that courage knows no gender. At a time when women's voices were often silenced, she stepped onto the battlefield and proved that freedom is worth any disguise. 2. Frederick Douglass, the voice for freedom. Born into slavery in 1818, Frederick Douglass endured unimaginable hardship. He was denied education, beaten, and separated from loved ones. But within him burned a hunger for knowledge and liberty that could not be chained. Teaching himself to read and write, Douglass discovered the power of words. He escaped slavery and rose to become one of the greatest orators and writers in American history. Every speech he gave struck at the heart of injustice. His autobiography, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, opened the world's eyes to the horrors of slavery. Douglass was not only an abolitionist, he was also a champion of women's rights. At the Seneca Falls Convention of 1848, he argued that women deserved the same equality men demanded for themselves. His boldness made him a bridge between two great struggles, the fight against slavery and the fight for equal rights. When the Civil War broke out, Douglass urged President Abraham Lincoln to allow African Americans to fight for the Union. Over 180,000 did so, and their bravery helped secure victory. By the time of his death in 1895, Frederick Douglass had transformed from an enslaved boy into a statesman whose voice carried across oceans. 3. Harriet Beecher Stowe, the author who stirred a nation. In 1852, a book appeared that shook the conscience of America, Uncle Tom's Cabin, written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. Stowe was not a soldier, but her pen proved as powerful as any weapon. She poured into her novel the brutal realities of slavery, describing families torn apart, human beings treated as property, and the cruelty of a system defended by law. The book became an instant bestseller, selling hundreds of thousands of copies. For many in the North, it was the first time they truly saw the humanity of enslaved people. For those in the South, it was condemned as dangerous propaganda. But one thing was clear: the book ignited fiery debate. When Stowe later met President Lincoln, he reportedly greeted her with the words, "So you're the little lady who wrote the